So what's good, homies? It's your man, Dr. BOA. I said I wasn't gonna do another video, man, with this boy, Pastor Don. But I'm gonna be honest with you, man. This guy is such a panderer that even women are sick of his pandering. You know how much of a panderer you have to be for women to be nauseated about the obnoxious nature of your pandering. So somebody sent me a video on IG where there's this chick who made a response video to this guy. In his video, he's saying that a woman should have two tricks. She should have two men until one of them decides that he wants to out-provide the other. And then that's the one who wins the woman. And this woman was just as disgusted as I know some of you guys are at just me mentioning that. And I'm not saying it with nearly the passion that this guy says it. Now, we know he's pandering. This woman obviously knows he's pandering. But here we have a slight episode of a battle of the sexes here. Here's a man who says a woman should have it all. A couple of tricks who are trying to out-trick one another in order to win the woman over because I am the biggest trick. And here's a woman who's saying a trick and a provider are two different things. And I tell you, men, this all the time. A provider provides a life for himself. And the woman comes in and enjoys that life because the provider feels like she's worthy of sharing it with. The trick gives the woman a life. No matter what level of attachment he and the woman have, he's still going to give the woman a life. Seeking arrangements, guys, are mostly tricks. OnlyFans guys are absolute tricks. Well, seeking arrangements guys are absolute tricks as well. Let's take a deep dive on this one. But first, let's elevate to a higher plane. Prepare for takeoff.
Until one of them want to over-provide the other one. When one pays for everything, then you can have a man. Fuck out of here.
Gets on my last nerves. I mean, he be pandering so bad. He just say anything for likes and follows. And these chicks be on here just eating it up. He made one video talking about how if a man want to take you on a date, tell him to cash app you $200 before the date to show that he really serious. Or be telling girls to, dudes need to be paying their bills, dudes need to be paying their rent, dudes need to be doing all of this stuff in the talking stage. Like, if there's men out there that's doing that, that's fine. But don't be pushing a narrative that if a man ain't doing that, then there's something wrong. Because you're putting the wrong idea in women's heads. Because nothing about that is normal. There are dudes out here who like to do stuff like that. And what we like to call those dudes are tricks. There's a difference between a man being a provider and a man being a trick. If that man does not live in that woman's household, it is not his responsibility to be paying her bills. If he want to, that's fine. But that is not what makes him a provider.
Now, what you see is just an episode of a guy who's such a simp, such a lame. And here's the thing. We know he's pandering, but he still got to be a beta male simp mangina to even open his mouth and say these type of things. Bro, I can't say these type of things as a joke. I couldn't even joke about this. Not one time. This guy creates content like this every single day of his life, man. This dude is a lame. You understand what I'm saying? And he knows he's a lame. So he's taking the fact that he's a lame and he's saying, okay, I'm going to do something that other men cannot do. And that is absolutely over pander to women. This guy is worse than Derrick Jackson has ever been. We call him Derrick Jackson 2.0. Let's call him Derrick Jackson 729.689. That's who he is. And the things that he's saying just goes to show how absolutely delusional women are. He's catering to the fantasy world needs of women, but we didn't know how far those fantasy world ideas went in a woman's head. They'll go as far as you'll take her. Any fantasy you can build, a woman's mind can gravitate toward it and create enough reality around it where she'll think is a possibility. And this is what takes place here. But when a woman comes out and says she's disgusted by a man's pandering, You know how much of a panderer and simp energy that you must put out into the environment? And this is not the only woman who feels this way. So here's the thing. Derrick Jaxn, he'll never be. Because Derrick Jaxn did temper it with a little bit of angst towards the women sometimes. Every now and then he threw a situation out sometimes. It's kind of like how I throw a situation out with a positive example of a woman sometime. Why? Because they're more widespread than the examples of negative. This guy is all panderer. And when you think about the way he does this and the things he says, he actually tries to diminish the value of a man who doesn't live life this way. And I try to tell you men that you should diminish your value if you do live life this way. Am I saying a man should never provide for any woman? No, I'm saying that a man should provide for a woman who he deems as worthy of it. And if you never come across a woman you deem as worthy of it, you should never be buying a woman anything. That's why I don't date. The purpose of dating is to take a woman somewhere and show her that she can come to the crib. If she ain't feeling me enough, man, to come to the crib, I ain't vibing with her. And they can say, well, women got to be cautious. When a woman's energy, man, if her energy antennas really go up, man, when she comes across you, she ain't going to be worrying about that. You know what I'm saying? She may have a little bit of apprehension, but she ain't going to have enough fear to not fall through the crib. And I ain't dealing with a woman who ain't ready to fall through the crib. Okay, we may talk on the phone for a couple of days or talk on the phone for a week. Let's say I meet on a Sunday. We may talk on the phone for that whole week. If we supposed to get together that next weekend, she going to come to the crib. Why? That's where this thing that they call game comes in. You mean tell me you talk to a woman for 2 weeks and you can't even get her to fall through the crib? That's a totally different topic right there. I'm going to break that whole game thing down because getting a woman ain't the game. Making the woman do what you want her to do once you talk to her, that's the game. So when you think about guys like this, and there's a couple of them sprouting up, but he seems to be the ringleader right now. The things that he's saying, where two men should compete for a woman, that guy doesn't actually believe that. But I'm going to tell you what it is. The guy grew up not having much luck with women. He grew up not having many positive interactions with women. And the first time he got his hand on some money, he became a trick. And he saw how easy it was to get access to women by paying them. But he knows that the majority of us aren't willing to live that life. So what he does is pander to the women and attempt to force their mind to gravitate toward the concept that they should demand these types of things from men. But what he's doing us a favor. He's doing us a favor because he's eliminating those women who are gold diggers. Because they're so browsing with it now, they'll let you know up front if they want to be paid. They'll let you know up front that they're looking for money. They'll let you know up front that they're a scallywag who's willing to give you favors in exchange for finances. Thanks to guys like him. So he's not doing us any harm. You understand what I'm saying? What he's doing is doing us a wonderful favor. So if you know him, tell him Dr. BOA says, thank you, brother, for doing the thing that you're doing. All the simping that you're doing is helping the pimping that I'm doing. I appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. You understand? Help me weed out the women that I don't need to even be talking to. Help my guys weed out the women that they don't even need to be talking to. Help the alpha sphere weed out the women that we don't even need to be talking to. Help the manosphere weed out the women that we don't even need to be talking to. Help the other simps weed out the women that they don't need to be talking to and be able to pick the level of woman that they can actually trick off on based on their financial ability. So again, props to this young lady for getting up on her soapbox and letting the world know that she doesn't agree with this pandering that this guy's doing and that she does want a man to be a provider. You understand? But she understands that there's a certain woman who deserves that type of provision and not every woman. The difference between a trick and a provider is a trick believes that all women deserve to be treated the way this character says they should be. A provider is in a position where he is willing to put a woman in that position to be provided for and protected, but only if she earns it and deserves it and continuously works to maintain that position. We're not paying attention to this guy. We know he's lame. We know he has to have a whole bunch of feminine energy in order to even spew this rhetoric. I don't care what kind of money it is. There is no way a masculine man is going to be able to say these things every single day with such conviction and such passion. He's passionate about it because he ain't never been able to get no bras without tricking. And I understand that. Can't say I empathize with it, but I understand it. You have to do what's best for you to get what you want. But I tell you this, never trust a fool with tattoos all up around his neck and face. That boy got demonic issues, man. Mark of the Beast is all over that boy. He can't control his spirit. That's why he could jump into such feminine energy as to spew his rhetoric and ridicule men for not being Beta Male Simp Mangina. There are some women out here who understand. And here's a perfect example of that. Y'all comment down below and let me know what you think about this topic, man. I look forward to hearing what you men have to say. I'm out.
Trying to become the most alpha version of you. Trying to become the most alpha version of you. Striving to become the most alpha version of you. Fighting to become the most alpha version of you. Welcome to the alpha sphere. Get money division. The place where you transform into a man on a mission.